November 14, 1942, the Red October Factory District, Stalingrad. The world here does not exist in color. It exists only in shades of pulverized gray and absolute, suffocating black. The artillery barrage has collapsed the ceiling of the basement, sealing the space beneath tons of ferroconcrete and twisted rebar. Vasily Ignatiev wakes up, coughing. The air is thick with a dust that tastes like limestone and old bones. He is 22 years old, a sniper from the Urals who has never seen the ocean. Now, he feels as if he is at the bottom of it. The pressure is immense. His left leg is pinned under a fallen beam, numb and immovable. He reaches out into the void. His fingers brush against cold stone, shattered glass, and something wet that is not water. He freezes. He is not alone. Across the darkness, perhaps only 3 meters away, there is a sound. It is a ragged, wet wheezing. The sound of a lung fighting for air. "Sito Tam," Vasily whispers. "Who is there?" The silence stretches, heavy and terrifying. Then, a metallic click echoes off the concrete walls. It is the distinctive sound of a bolt sliding forward on a Mauser Kar-98K. The enemy is here. Hans Weber lies in the debris. He is 41, a combat engineer from Dresden with grey in his beard and a picture of a dachshund in his tunic pocket. A piece of steel reinforcement bar has pierced his abdomen. He cannot move. He cannot aim. He holds his rifle across his chest like a shield, his hands trembling from shock and blood loss. For an hour, neither man speaks. They exist in a stalemate of terror. Vasily grips his knife, his knuckles white. He waits for the muzzle flash that will end his life. Hans waits for the Russian to crawl over and finish him. The darkness strips them of their uniforms. In this hole, there are no swastikas and no red stars. There are only 2 terrified mammals trapped in a cage. The cold begins to set in. It is a creeping, malice-filled frost that seeps through the cracks in the rubble. Vasily's teeth begin to chatter. He tries to suppress it, but the sound is loud in the acoustic trap of the basement. He hears Hans shift, a groan of agony escaping his lips. "Wasser," the voice croaks from the dark. "Wasser." It is not a demand. It is a plea. It is the universal language of the dying. Vasily hesitates. He has a canteen on his belt. It is half full. Every drop is life. To give it to the fascist is treason. To give it to the enemy is madness. Vasily unscrews the cap. The smell of the water, metallic and stale, fills the small space. He hears Hans inhale sharply, smelling the moisture. Vasily realizes something profound in that moment. If he dies here, no one will know. If he kills this man, no one will award him a medal. "Catch," Vasily says, in Russian. He slides the canteen across the floor. It scrapes against the debris, a harsh noise, before hitting Hans's boot. There is a pause. Then, the sound of drinking. Gulping, desperate, choking, drinking. A light flares. Hans has struck a match. The sudden brightness is blinding, searing their dilated pupils. For 3 seconds, they see each other. Vasily sees a man who looks like his schoolteacher, face pale as wax, eyes sunken and filled with pain. Hans sees a boy, covered in dust, looking at him with wide, terrified eyes. The match burns down to Hans's fingertips. He does not drop it until the flame touches his skin. The darkness rushes back in, heavier than before. But the dynamic has shifted. The monster in the dark has become a man. "Danke," Hans whispers. The voice is weaker now. "My name, ... is Hans." He speaks in broken Russian words, learned from a phrasebook he no longer owns. Vasily, the boy replies. The hatred he was trained to feel, the hatred that was drilled into him since the invasion began, feels irrelevant here. The ideology of the state cannot survive the intimacy of this tomb. Hans strikes another match. This time, he holds up a photograph. It is creased and blood-stained. It shows a little girl with braided hair standing in front of a Christmas tree. Greta, Hans says. She is ... 7. Vasily looks at the girl. She looks like his niece in Sverdlovsk. She is beautiful, Vasily says. The match goes out. The after-image of the smiling child lingers in the blackness, a ghost of a world that has burned down. I am cold, Vasily, Hans says. His voice is drifting, losing its anchor. So cold, Vasily cannot reach him. He cannot offer body heat. He can only offer his voice. Think of the summer, Vasily says, his voice cracking. Think of the sun in Dresden. Is it warm? Hans murmurs. The Elbe River. The sun on the water. It is warm. They talk for hours. They talk about bread. They talk about the sound of rain on a tin roof. They talk about everything except the war. They build a sanctuary of words to keep the death at bay. Sometime near dawn, the breathing stops. There is no final struggle, no dramatic speech, just a long exhale, and then silence. Vasily calls out, Hans, there is no answer. The silence is absolute. Vasily sits in the dark with the corpse of his enemy. He feels a crushing sense of loneliness that is worse than the fear of death. He cries, he weeps for the man who tried to kill him. He weeps for Greta, who will wait for a father who is buried under a Russian factory. 2 days later, the rescue team breaks through. Light floods the basement, harsh and violent. Soviet voices shout commands. Strong hands pull the beam off Vasily's leg. They drag him up towards the surface, towards the grey sky of Stalingrad. We killed them all, comrade, a sergeant yells, patting Vasily on the back. A great victory! He kicks the body of the German engineer. Another fascist rat, dead. Vasily looks back. He sees Hans lying in the dust, the canteen still clutched in his hand, the photo of Greta peeking out from his fingers. He wants to scream that it wasn't a rat. He wants to say that it was a man who missed the summer sun, but he says nothing. He nods, his face a mask of stone. 43 years later. A warm kitchen in a small apartment in Moscow. The radio plays a Tchaikovsky symphony. An old man sits at the table, his legs stiff, aching with a change of weather. Vasily strikes a match to light his stove. He watches the sulphur flare, the small yellow flame dancing in the draught. He hears a voice whispering about a river in Dresden. He blows the match out. The smoke rises thin and blue. He has told his children about the medals. He has told them about the victories. He has never told them about the darkness. Because how do you explain that your greatest act of humanity was sharing a drink with the man who came to destroy your home? How do you explain that in the deepest blackness, when the uniforms are invisible, all blood tastes the same? The history books are written in ink, recording the movement of armies and the shifting of borders. But the human soul is written in moments of quiet rebellion. It is written in the water shared in the dark. It is written in the grief for an enemy. Vasily closes his eyes. He is back in the basement. He is not alone. And in that memory, in that terrible, beautiful silence, the war is finally over.